Okay, so hi there. This is Wondrous Roots, your health from the ground up. My name is Becky Montrone. I have a business here in Keene called Wondrous Roots, and I am a holistic healthcare practitioner with a degree in holistic nutrition. Also an herbalist, so we make all kinds of lotions and potions here. So from botanical material. So when I say botanical material, a lot of times people think of herbal medicine, but to be a real picky-un on specifics. So we use the herb part of the plant in some cases we use the roots or the rhizomes, and other times we use the bark or the seed or even the fat part of the plant. Botanical medicine is probably a better way to categorize that. But so we have a practice here, and I see people in private consultation, either in person or via teleconference, for all manner of health issues, and kind of consider myself a health detective. So sometimes it takes a while to sleuth that out. Sleuth things out when working with people, but that's the joy of it. And it's the fun of spending time with people, really getting to listen to what's going on in their bodies. And it really, in many ways, is far surpasses the mainstream approach of your 15-minute visit, and we can talk about your sinuses, but we can't talk about your bunions all in the same breath. That kind of thing that we're used to in the medical industrial complex. I'm not very used to it. I'm used to hearing about it, but I haven't seen a doctor formally since 1997. So I don't get the doctor's office kind of stuff, but I hear all about it. Anyway. My goal here in my work is always to get at the root of the problem. So Wondrous Roots, roots of health and disease. So what are the things going on in your body that might be at the root level that might be producing several branches that aren't healthy? So a person may have, for instance, a thyroid problem as well as a heart problem. Maybe the two are connected. Maybe they're connected in iodine and selenium problems, deficiencies. Not saying that they necessarily would be, but that's a possibility. Looking at different things, I had one of my clients, and she's with us right now. So you'll get a kick out of this, Karen, as I talk about it, but she was on the other day. We were doing a Zoom. She's in Ohio, so we were doing a teleconference, and I've been working with her for over a year, but she's always really good about, before our meetings, she will supply me with a few pages of what's been going on since the last time we met. And some things just really cropped up this time. Before, I was always thinking with her, we were thinking, we were thinking more along the lines of knowing that she has arthritis, and she's been on medication for that. And we've gone with that, and we've worked with that, and she's seen some improvement along the way, but it just was glaring when we were working together on, I think it was Thursday. It was Thursday, that she has fibromyalgia, and she's in a massive flare. And it sometimes takes that time. It takes the sleuthing it out. It takes looking at people over time, and then looking at different things. And we were like, bingo, like, wow, at least now we see what's really going on at the root level here. And so that's another great topic for another day, is fibromyalgia. But I have another person who's on the call right now, the webinar, as a guest, and I hope you don't mind if I talk about you, but I won't say her name. But okay, so she popped up recently, and I've been working with this dear lady for, I got to say 3 or 4 or more years. And recently she's had some weird things happen. Like she's an older woman, but she's very athletic. She plays pickleball all the time. She's very petite, and she's in shape. She doesn't overeat. They don't have a bad diet or anything, but all of a sudden her labs come up with a super high blood sugar. And then her labs came up with a super high ferritin. And so, I wondered if it were possible, because that she might have this hereditary familial condition called hemochromatosis, which is storage of too much iron, which over time can affect the organs of the body, specifically the liver, the pancreas, the kidneys, things like that. So we kind of pursued this back and forth through email, and I asked, and her physician was willing to order a test for genetic testing for hemochromatosis. And she did come up heterozygous for one of the identifying genes. However, when people come up positive for that one, their physicians always come back, or their genetic counselors who just did come back to her and say, you're a carrier, but you don't have hemochromatosis. So I sent her information by this naturopath doctor, very good, solid information about how people who are told they don't have hemochromatosis because they're only carriers because of their gene variant, and that it's only a one gene out of the two. They don't have hemochromatosis. Oftentimes they do. And he's got like a whole book about that, and recipes and how to manage your diet and all kinds of things like that. So anyway, she sees the genetic counselor, and the genetic counselor tells her, yeah, you don't have hemochromatosis. And yet then she goes and she has a, let me get my chat up here. She goes and she has a ultrasound or whatever, something of the some imaging study of the liver, her liver. And it comes out, oh, she has, and this is just the imager, like saying this is consistent with blah, 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 or hemochromatosis. You know, these are findings. So bingo, 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 bingo. So you have to persist beyond the mainstream view. I first really hunkered down on this one with a woman who in her 60s is developing pre-diabetes. Again, she's skinny as a rail. She's not, she doesn't eat junky food. She doesn't eat, there's no reason for her diet to explain her having pre-diabetes. And out there, I'm not trying to say other people who do, it's your diet or what, I'm just saying there's no logical reason. And then she was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which was a new thing. And then she was diagnosed with, there was one more thing. Oh, osteoporosis. So all of these things can be associated with hemochromatosis. And it was the same thing. I pressed her physician to order for this. And yes, she's a one gene carrier, but again, she was told the same thing about this. But you have to weave things together. And I did send her physician studies showing Crohn's disease being related to hemochromatosis, diabetes being related to hemochromatosis, osteoporosis being related to hemochromatosis. So remember, I did a program, I want to say maybe 8 months ago or so, on hyperparathyroidism, another one of these conditions that is at the root. This is how I got off on this rabbit trail. But at the root of many branches. Okay, so we would say hemochromatosis is at the root of her osteoporosis. And the doctor said, well, we don't want to focus on hemochromatosis. Let's focus on getting your blood sugar down. Let's focus on getting your bones, get you on some drugs for your bones and things like that. No. Maybe you have to use some things to manage problems that have been managed to come up in the short term, but you've got to deal with getting the excess iron out. In that case, right? How do you do that? You give blood. You have to give blood. You have to get your blood phlebotomy. Just occasionally, you got to give blood and get that iron level down. But anyway, that's an example of getting at the root. And now that's a very extreme example, but that's what we have to do if we're really going to help people recover and be healthy and get over their illnesses. It all starts down there. It doesn't start with dealing with your bone problem and your Crohn's and your blood sugar. So anyway, so roots, root cause and root cures kind of thing. And then using the roots medicines of the earth. So using things, whether they be nutrients or plants. So when I work with people, I work, as you all know who work with me, I work with a lot of different nutrients and things. And if you've followed any of my programs, maybe on YouTube or Rumble, and you're not one of my clients or whatever, that's my toolkit. So we use things that are at the root, they are natural things, right? Things that naturally occur. Okay, so, and then you know, the roots of, you know, my family, my mother being a registered nurse, but really got into nutrition, really was the one who turned us all on to the importance of vitamins and nutrients and things like that. She was a big Adele Davis fan. And then my father being a renowned compound pharmacist. So that's where I kind of get my love of putting things together, mixing things up and making a different potion of some kind. So anyway, there's that. We are open 9:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. We're located on the 3rd floor of the Miller Forge building here in Keene, New Hampshire, on Roxbury Street, which is one of the main tributaries right here off Central Square. And our number here is 603-439-2603. You can also reach out to me on either of my websites, our online store, shopwondrousroots.com or wondrousroots.org. I have a lot of information, great information on that website. And we also have, you know, a full shop here with our products, things I stock that I use with clients from other sources, and then the things we make. So you can see all of that on shopwondrousroots.com. I think I said it all that I wanted to say at that point. And thank you, ladies, for letting me use you as examples. It's really interesting. And I was telling Karen that the first one I was talking about with the fibromyalgia, that it would be great to have her on, like actually, so you can see her and we'll discuss her case. But I said, let's see how far we get with it first before we do that. Let's see how much you improve before we actually do that. So I was torn again. I did the last couple of weeks. I started with cholesterol, the truth about cholesterol. So I started talking about heart disease and the heart. And then last week I did heart disease part 1. Kind of what is heart disease, blah, 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 blah. And now I want to break that down and go further into specific heart health conditions such as congestive heart failure, atherosclerosis, atrial fibrillation, AFib, different things like that, and kind of do a separate thing. But I've been torn because I want to talk about some other things too. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is palmitoylethanolamide, which is, we talk about as PEA. When I first talked about it, months ago, I gave it a brief mention. I hadn't figured out how to, I hadn't broken it down and figured out how to pronounce it, but now it just kind of rolls off my tongue. Palmitoylethanolamide. Doesn't everybody just say that? And Connie who was the second one I was talking about. She said, sure, use me anytime, hoping it will help others. I'm thankful for your help. Palmitoylethanolamide. So I did a little PowerPoint presentation about it, and I'm going to go through that today, just because the more I work day to day with people, the more I see how important palmitoylethanolamide is to so many different health conditions. It's really remarkable. When I first learned about it, I was really focused on its effect on pain, specifically, well, all pain, but really when it gets to really difficult pain, such as neuropathies of different kinds. And so I was just really, really excited about it. And I had just learned about it in a very roundabout way. Krista, my daughter, our daughter had a neurotoxic reaction to an antibiotic called nitrofurantoin that she was prescribed for, which is a very commonly prescribed drug for a bladder infection, a simple bladder infection. And she ended up with this polyneuropathy throughout her whole body. And Krista has, that'd be another good conversation to have her in on with you guys and have her present. But she has the MTHFR mutations like I do, but she has the more serious one, the heterozygous one in each gene of the 2 most recognized variants. And then she also has, she's blocked in the COMT, the catecholamine transferase genes. And then I found out about how the problem with dopamine and norepinephrine and epinephrine, those neurotransmitters that are affected by COMT status, interact with a drug like nitrofurantoin. That was really fascinating. But the thing that really, in fact, in other words, it was that her genetic status there that caused her to have this reaction. It wasn't an allergic reaction. But one of the things we saw present in there for this was the use of PEA. And I had heard about PEA from a compound pharmacist friend of mine, Gene Gresh from Vernon, Connecticut, because I was asking him what he would recommend for Krista during that time. And he said, I formulated a gel for neuropathy. I'd love to try it out on her. And he was telling me what was in it. And I know he said ketamine because I just saw today using ketamine with PEA. I know he said he used the base, he used our natural pain cream, which we developed together. And then he added all these other things to it for the neuropathy. So, things that are prescription like ketamine, but he mentioned PEA. And I was so intrigued about PEA because I can't remember what he said about it, but he said he made reference to it being very important. So I had jotted it down in my notes and I looked at it the next day and I looked at it over a few weeks, like sitting on sitting like this, like on my table, like, okay, PEA up here, right? Like I gotta get back to that. And I finally did. And this is what I found. So, and it's been a revelation, just learning yesterday about its effect on weight loss because of a client who came in for a follow-up. And she started talking about stereolamide, which is SEA, which is another one of the oilamines. So they're all in this group, biochemically speaking, and its effect on weight. And I was like, well, I didn't have it here for that. I had it here for just, really intense inflammation. I was thinking more about the brain. And she said, well, I was thinking, I don't know what it was, but I heard. And so I looked, and sure enough, I found out that the oilamines have an effect on weight loss. So that's part of the presentation. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen. If you want to participate, and I hope you do, you can chat just like Connie tapped into the chat there. You can go to Q&A and chat and type in there. It's kind of like the same kind of thing. And then you can raise your hand. So if you want to raise your hand and talk, I will then call on you and you can do that. Okay, so I think I'm going to get going. Share my screen. And it looks like that's right. I'll get my chat and move it here. Get you all, whoops, get me, move me over there and get you all over here so I can see you. And try to see. Okay. All right, you can see that. Palmitoylethanolamide. Say it together, class. Palmitoylethanolamide, not just for pain. So, what is palmitoylethanolamide? Palmitoylethanolamide, PEA, is a food component known since 1957. PEA is synthesized and metabolized in animal cells via a number of enzymes and exerts a multitude of physiological functions related to metabolic homeostasis. Okay, so that's a really fancy scientific way of saying we take in things in our diet that our body uses to make palmitoylethanolamide. So we make it ourselves. You have palmitoylethanolamide in your body all the time, whether you're taking it as a supplement or not. I have it in my body, whether I'm taking, we all have it, just like we all have cannabinoids, whether we're using CBD or something like that, right? We all have them because we make them. We can't make enough of them from the food we eat to bring about these wonderful therapeutic properties that I'm going to be talking about today. But in any case, that's what that means. We take in food. Excuse me, we take in food and certain foods in particular, and then we make these endogenous. That means we make them ourselves. So what else is endogenous? Let's talk about that. Melatonin, we make it ourselves. Glutathione, we make it ourselves. So when we say endogenous, that's what we're talking about. Now look at this. Research on PEA has been conducted for more than 50 years, and over 350 papers are referenced in PubMed describing the physiological properties of this endogenous modulator and its pharmacological and therapeutic profile. Over 50 years, more than 50 years, and over 350 papers are referenced in PubMed, right? Very scientific database. But guess what? If you go to WebMD, right? This is how they have us. This is how mainstream medical industrial complex has us. Because if you just look, okay, I can see it now, right? So you're like, Becky keeps talking about PEA. I got to look into it. So you go to Google or you go to DuckDuckGo or whatever, you go to whatever search engine you use, and you type in palmitoylethanolamide, PEA, whatever, and you're going to get your first page of hits. The only page you're going to see, unless you actually want to look further, and a lot of times people don't, what you're going to see is WebMD, Healthline, Very Well Health, your top Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, and all of those kinds of things. And this is the kind of thing you're going to read there. And if you read this, your average person who reads this is going to say, it doesn't look like there's really much behind it. So look what they have to say. I say, courtesy of WebMD, an informational source we are supposed to trust when it comes to vetted and scientifically based information. Palmitoylethanolamide, PEA, is a chemical made from fat. It is found naturally in foods such as egg yolks and peanuts and in the human body. PEA can bind to cells in the body and reduce pain and swelling. PEA is used for different types of pain: fibromyalgia, osteoarthritis, multiple sclerosis, carpal tunnel syndrome, autism, and many other conditions. But there is no good scientific evidence to support many of these uses. Bingo. Right there. What does a person do? Oh, see, yeah, but there's really nothing to really back that up. So they've like Becky's talking about that all the time. I'm just giving myself as an example, or I read that, or somebody told me about that. But yeah, there's really no good scientific evidence. And this is what you get from those types of sources and from your local clinic and generally your doctors, because they don't know. And then they'll say, see something like that and they'll say, there's no science. There's no science behind it. But what did we just see? Research has been conducted on this for over 50 years, and we have over 350 papers. Okay, so anyway, got that out of my system. Well, maybe not. I don't think it will ever be out of my system. You guys are with me in that, so we can commiserate together. So PEA and overall health. So I like this paper. Palmitoylethanolamide, again, you're going to be able to let's see if I can get this focused the way you know. I always have to go through this little rigmarole, try to get things the way I want them. Okay, so you are again going to be able to see the papers that I'm talking about. And let me also show you that I have a whole page on palmitoylethanolamide on my website. So you go to research files, and then you go to PEA, palmitoylethanolamide. I've got a little short blurb about that that's really short. This presentation will be up here, right under here, along with the PDF I'm going through oh, that was really weird. I just went like this and I looked at my picture there and I'm like, oh, it looks like my thing is frozen. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm okay. Anyway, you can see all of these different things. I did utilize most of these in this PDF, but this is my page. And then as I learn more and more things about these things, which happens like close to every day, this is what I love about creating these pages, is that I can just in an instant add them here. This one I just added today, this one and this one and that one. But I just did it while I was doing my research and it goes up. So always come back if you're interested in a topic. All right. So, no, I think I want to go there. Yeah, and now I want to go back. All right. And I'm just going to close out of there because I have a lot of windows open and my bandwidth will go down. So anyway, all nations have undergone a nutrition transition, which have undergone a nutrition transition. I guess, that would be like our nation, which is like ranks number one practically, I think, if not number one, I think maybe number three in chronic diseases. No, I think we're number one in chronic diseases. A nutrition transition, right? That's what RFK Jr. wants to bring to the White House, is kind of exploding some of the things that control the food we eat. That would be really wonderful. Have experienced increased frequency and falling latency of chronic degenerative diseases, which are largely driven by chronic inflammatory stress. Dietary supplementation is a vital strategy to reduce the risk and severity of such disorders. Palmitoylethanolamide is an endocannabinoid-like lipid means fat, mediator with extensively documented anti-inflammatory and analgesic, so that's pain relieving, antimicrobial. So again, we're going to be talking a little bit later about its effect on the immune system and things like influenza and common cold. Immunomodulatory, again, and neuroprotective effects. It is well tolerated and devoid of side effects in animals and humans. And this is another huge point about palmitoylethanolamide, is that it does not carry with it side effects, and it is not contraindicated for use with any medication you might be on, or any nutritional supplement, or any kind of medical treatment you are receiving. So that's very wonderful. PEA's actions on multiple molecular targets while modulating multiple inflammatory mediators, and they're really kind of cool if you love that kind of science, provide therapeutic benefits in many applications, including immunity, brain health, allergy, pain modulation, joint health, sleep, and recovery. PEA's poor oral bioavailability, a major obstacle in early research, has been overcome by advanced delivery systems now licensed as food supplements. And so now we can take advantage of this in food supplements. So first, we're going to take a look at PEA and pain. Palmitoylethanolamide in the treatment of chronic pain caused by different idiopathogenesis. So that just means different causes. So it wasn't like everybody who had pain from diabetic neuropathy, for instance, or everybody who had pain from fibromyalgia, or everybody who had pain from sciatica, or everybody who had pain from osteoarthritis. We did this study. No, it was a group of people, 610 people, actually, with pain from different causes. That was pain that was not responding to normal pain medication kind of therapy. And let's just talk about that right now. We are in a mess, a hot mess when it comes to managing pain. A lot of people have pain. A lot of you out there have pain, chronic pain. We have pain, chronic pain, which brought in the whole entire opiate crisis that we have right now, that is ruined so many lives, and it continues to. And so pain right there, if you can find something that works at least in a good percentage of people with chronic debilitating pain, that is huge. It should be shouted from the rooftops. It's really, it's wonderful is all I can say. It's just super wonderful. So what they did is, I'm not going to read it because I can just tell you. They took 610 people, different problems, and they gave them and then the way they were going to judge it is that pain scale rating, like how would you describe your level of pain on a scale of 1 to 10? So you guys all know that. If you go to see the doctor, they always ask you that, if you have pain, and if you do, where is it on the pain scale. So they gave them, they started with 600 milligrams of palmitoylethanolamide twice a day. And then, and that was 1,200 milligrams a day. And then they did that for 3 weeks, and then they moved to that 600 milligrams once a day. And it said all of the, it says the PEA treatment significantly decreased the mean score pain intensity evaluated in all patients who completed the study. The PEA effect was independent of the pain-associated pathological condition. PEA-induced decrease of pain intensity was present also in patients without concomitant analgesic therapy. Importantly, PEA showed no adverse effects. So in this study, PEA was effective and safe in the management of chronic pain and different pathological conditions. I love this paper. So if this is one that you want to, if you like this kind of stuff, let me just see if I can bring it down a little bit. It tells about that there. But what I really love, and if you're into wanting to understand how this all works, this talks about the mast cells, the nervous system dysfunction that happens with chronic pain, mast cells being aggravated, and the microglia. And so you get this chronic pain hypersensitivity. And so PEA works to, following this activation via nerve injury, somebody's received an injury right to the nerves, microglia become activated and release pro-inflammatory cytokines such as tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin-1 beta, and interleukin-6, thereby initiating the pain process. Microglia propagate neuroinflammation by recruiting other microglia and eventually activating nearby astrocytes, thereby prolonging the inflammatory state and leading to a chronic pain condition. The contribution of mast cells and microglia in the development, I can't say that, microglia, that is really hard to say, microglia, in the development and progression of chronic pain proposes that these cells represent new and innovative targets for chronic pain control. Right there, that's my takeaway. If you want it, and they go into it more deeply, but that is what we're talking about. There's looking at what happens. How does an initial injury, for instance, now result in pain that won't go away? Okay, there we go. So then there's a lot more here on PEA and pain. This one, therapeutic, I'm going to open quite a few of these. Therapeutic utility of palmitoylethanolamide in the treatment of neuropathic pain associated with various pathological conditions. And then there are case studies in this one. So if you are, again, just follow these bunny trails, and you can do that. But I'm going to read the abstract. It's an endogenous fatty acid amide. Well, we already know that. Has been demonstrated to bind to a receptor in the cell nucleus, the peroxisome proliferator activated receptor. And you'll read about that as PPARX. PPAXR or something like that. And performs a great variety of biological functions related to chronic and neuropathic pain and inflammation, as has been demonstrated in clinical trials. These include peripheral neuropathy, such as diabetic neuropathy. This is a huge problem for many diabetics. It can be absolutely debilitating. Chemotherapy-induced peripheral neuropathy, and we know that that happens with people undergoing chemotherapy many times. Carpal tunnel syndrome, sciatic pain, very common, sciatica, osteoarthritis, low back pain, failed back surgery syndrome, dental pains, neuropathic pain and stroke, and multiple sclerosis, chronic pelvic pain, post-herpetic, that's neuralgia, which is after you've had shingles, that pain, nerve damage that occurs, and then you have that pain going on forever and ever and ever. And vaginal pains, probably due to the fact that PEA is an endogenous modulator as well as found in food, and the side effects are not a problem. And then they've got some case studies here of different people using it for different issues. But I like to point those out because you can say, gee, I wonder if my pain is the kind of pain, or my husband's pain, or my friend's pain, or whatever, is something that would be helped by this. Here's one on migraine, effectiveness of palmitoylethanolamide compared to placebo for reducing pain duration and medication use during migraines and otherwise healthy participants. And then this palmitoylethanolamide in the treatment of pain. So it says we should study it further. Yes, please do. We need more than those 350 studies. But anyway, yes. And this one, Chronic pain, again, another one. And then this one as an add-on to alpha lipoic acid for control of diabetic peripheral neuropathy. So that's something else. You can use palmitoylethanolamide. They use it also with luteolin for things like Parkinson's, the luteolin, which is another nutrient. Palmitoylethanolamide with alpha lipoic acid, or I would probably say use our lipoic acid. It's much more bioavailable than the alpha lipoic acid for control of symptoms of diabetic peripheral neuropathy. It says PEA as an add-on to alpha lipoic acid accelerates the resolution of neuropathic symptoms in type 1 diabetic subjects with diabetic polyneuropathy, peripheral neuropathy probably. So very, very exciting, very exciting. And then classical and unexpected effects of ultramicronized PEA and neuromuscular function. And I'm going to point this one out. So neuromuscular function, we can think of in a couple of different categories. I probably would put it in the brain category as well. But yeah, definitely because of its effect here. If you know anybody, or if you have, or if you know anyone with myasthenia gravis. Most of you probably know about myasthenia gravis because of pharmaceutical ads on TV. But myasthenia gravis is affected by the acetylcholine receptors, and it affects muscular function. So it's something that affects normal muscular movement. And so here we have the endocannabinoid system recently has attracted growing attention from the scientific community for its involvement in homeostatic and pathological processes as they pertain to human physiology. It's a wonderful thing. I hope you guys are excited because this is super exciting. Okay, among the constituents of the endocannabinoid system, the molecule palmitoylethanolamide has particularly been studied for its ability to reduce several inflammatory processes involving the central nervous system. Here we reviewed published literature and summarized the main targets of the palmitoylethanolamide, along with its unique possible mechanisms for restoring correct functioning of the central nervous system. So central nervous system. So let's think about spinal cord injury, right? Yes, that's why Gene had me. He said have Krista have someone put the gel he was making with the PEA and the ketamine and everything else he had in it along her spinal cord to affect all of those nerve endings. So this is huge. So think of things that affect the central nervous system. And, you know, we would think of things, you know, again, like Parkinson's, like multiple sclerosis, and we're going to get into that too in a few more slides. But anyway, we highlighted a less known characteristic of palmitoylethanolamide, namely its ability to modulate the function of the neuromuscular junction by binding to acetylcholine receptors in different experimental conditions. Indeed, there are several studies that have highlighted how ultramicronized palmitoylethanolamide, the ultramicronized, and that's what I've switched to, that's what I'm providing my clients with, and that's what I'm providing, you know, to our customers and clients, is simply now just the ultramicronized, because that seems to be, you know, the ultramicronized, very small particle gets into all the nitty gritty, all the little tiny tubules and things. Let's think of it that way. So I'm working with that exclusively now. I started out with the BioClinic micronized PEA, but because when I read in different studies, I see the ultramicronized, I'm like, why wouldn't you go for the ultramicronized? So it doesn't cost any more. And anyway, the ultramicronized palmitoylethanolamide is an interesting nutraceutical support for the treatment of pathological neuromuscular conditions, specifically when the normal activity of the acetylcholine receptor is altered. And that's exactly what happens in myasthenia gravis. Although further multicentric clinical trials are needed to confirm the efficacy of ultramicronized palmitoylethanolamide in improving symptoms of neuromuscular diseases, all the literature reviewed here strongly supports the ability of this endocannabinoid-like molecule to moderate the acetylcholine receptors, thus resulting as a valid support for the treatment of human neuromuscular diseases. This is absolutely huge, right? But it's not a new drug that you can ask your doctor about as the drug ads tell you, oh, ask your doctor to prescribe this. And then they give you, at the end of the ad, they give you a list of a mile long of all of the things that could happen to you as a negative side effect. No negative side effects with PEA. And more levels of bioactive endogenous lipids and health-related quality of life and chronic idiopathic axonal polyneuropathy, palmitoylethanolamide in the treatment of chronic pain. Okay, I think I just looked at that one. Okay. Now, we're talking about PEA, palmitoylethanolamide. There's other amides, amines, we would call them oil amines. There's different ones, and one of them is the SEA I talked about. And then we think of amines, think of chocolate, think of anandamide, palmitoylethanolamide, right? Anandamide. And anandamide is the feel-good part of chocolate. It's what makes you happy when you eat chocolate. It's what there's just that nice mood thing with chocolate. So these are things that are in our bodies. They work through the cannabinoid receptors. And so here we have an article, very interesting, palmitoylethanolamide, a potential alternative to cannabidiol. And what they're saying here is sometimes people don't want to use I see people say that to me sometimes. Well, I don't think I should use CBD. That's cannabis, and sometimes people just have cannabis can kind of CBD, even though it's completely non-psychoactive and it's completely legal, still feel kind of weird using something that's related to cannabis, even though they're making cannabinoids themselves. But anyway, that's fine. But it says the endocannabinoid system is a widespread cell signaling network. Okay, so this is in your body. We are born, human breast milk is loaded with cannabinoids. So we make them, they are endogenous. And when we use cannabinoids from the outside, like when we use PEA from the outside, we're simply adding to our stores of things we already have okay. So this has made the endocannabinoid system an attractive therapeutic target for various disease states. The endocannabinoid system is a well-known target of exogenous phytocannabinoids, so we take them from the outside and then we ingest them, derived from cannabis plants, the most well-characterized being THC and cannabidiol, CBD. However, the therapeutic efficacy of cannabis products comes with a risk of toxicity and high abuse. Anyway, I can't read under there because of that strip. But anyway, while apparently, okay, he's trying to say CBD while having anticonvulsant and antipsychotic activities while apparently lacking the toxicity of THC. Okay, so anyway, they're saying that, but nevertheless, not only is the current available scientific data concerning CBD's efficacy insufficient, they say, we would wonder about that. And I would say that that's not true based on other files that I have. There is also ambiguity surrounding its regulatory status and safety in humans that brings inherent risk to manufacturers. So they're just saying, we could have something that we use that doesn't have any of that stigma, that doesn't have anybody worried about it, and the bank's worried about, people buying it from your website or whatever. There is a demand for alternative compounds combining similar effects with a robust safety profile and regulatory approval, and palmitoylethanolamide is that, okay? It's an endocannabinoid-like lipid mediator, primarily known for its anti-inflammatory, analgesic, neuroprotective properties, blah, 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 blah. So it appears to have a multi-modal mechanism of action by primarily activating the nuclear receptor. That's what I was trying to tell you, PPAR alpha, while also potentially working through the ECS, thus endocannabinoid system, thus targeting similar pathways as CBD. With proven efficacy in several therapeutic areas, its safety and tolerability profile and the development of formulations that maximize its bioavailability, PEA is a promising alternative to CBD. I would only say, don't say, well, I've tried CBD for my pain and it doesn't work, so this isn't going to work either. No, 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 no. They're not the same, but they work through the endocannabinoid system. But each have their own pharmacological properties, if you will. So don't judge how PEA might work for you based on how CBD did or did not work for you. And they're great to use together, by the way. PEA and gut health. So now we move from pain. Now we move to all of that inflammation in the gut that is behind so many things such as IBS, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, those types of conditions. It says there's a system that until recently has been helping us digest our food without us even knowing. This recently discovered system, the endocannabinoid system, may be just as vital to your body as your microbiome, particularly in supporting gut health. There's a fatty acid called palmitoylethanolamide, PEA, that your body naturally makes to interact with your endocannabinoid system that can be a key player in supporting gut health as well. So there are 5 ways your endocannabinoid system affects gut health. Your endocannabinoid system connects your gut and your brain. In fact, some scientists believe it is the main communication channel between your gut and your brain. This is because they use the same language and hardware made up of special receptors and neurotransmitters. Their messages flow through the same neurons. Although this language and hardware appears elsewhere in the body, the gut and the brain use it to a much greater degree because of the functions they share. So 5 ways your endocannabinoid system affects gut health: leaky gut, motility, inflammation, stress, and weight loss. And I think I'll go back 1 slide and just click into that quickly. This was actually written by, this is Amy Myers' page, I think. Yeah, Amy Myers, MD. She does a lot of stuff with anti-inflammatory diet and all that kind of stuff. But if we go down here to the, you can read all of that. The endocannabinoid system affects the gut health is how your endocannabinoid system interacts with your gut microbiota, the beneficial bacteria. We don't fully understand why, however, it may help create new cannabinoid 2 receptors in the intestinal lining, decreasing permeability. This means that endocannabinoids such as PEA can help keep the junctions between the cells of your gut wall tight, thereby preventing or improving a leaky gut. Motility. Gut motility is the time it takes for your food to move through your intestines. When it's too slow, you experience constipation. When it's too fast, you have diarrhea. We know that many factors affect your motility, including the types of bacteria that live in your intestines and how much coffee you drink. She's just saying there's a lot of things that do that. However, we recently found that the endocannabinoid system plays an important role in your gut motility too, in 2 different ways. Inflammation. So pro-inflammatory effects, to limit pro-inflammatory effects in the intestines. Endocannabinoids such as PEA may help move immune cells to sites in your intestines where there is inflammation, recruiting immune cells to the area where tissue is damaged. The cytokines, the interleukin, and all that kind of stuff that signal the body to produce inflammation may be suppressed by endocannabinoids. When these messages are stifled, they are less effective in producing inflammation in your intestines. Inflammation in the colon, the endocannabinoid system, dampening smooth muscular irritation caused by inflammation by controlling cellular pathways that lead to inflammatory responses. The results of 1 study suggest that balancing endocannabinoid levels may even halt the progression of colitis. I did have a guy years ago, 1 dose of CBD oil here in my office shut off a weeks-long flare of his ulcerative colitis. That was pretty remarkable. Weight loss. In studies where bacteria were administered to obese and type 2 diabetic mice, the bacteria reverse diet caused obesity. It did this by increasing intestinal levels of endocannabinoids that control inflammation, the gut barrier, and gut peptide secretion to naturally reduce gut permeability. It works on weight in a few different other ways too, which is going to really knock your socks off. And then I'll just go through this. When the gastrointestinal GI effects of PEA are discussed, it must be pointed out that it affects intestinal motility, but also modulates gut microbiota. So it's working with your microbiome. This is due to anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, analgesic, antimicrobial, and immunomodulatory features. Additionally, PEA has shown beneficial effects in several GI diseases, particularly irritable bowel syndrome and inflammatory bowel diseases, as various studies have even shown. And it's important to emphasize its relative lack of toxicity even at high doses. And again, that is this is what WebMD will tell us, they just don't have, studies for this kind of thing. So just pass that by and come get your prescription filled. PEA and the brain. Effects of palmitoylethanolamide on neurodegenerative diseases, a review from rodents to humans. Namely, attention has been paid to the effects of PEA in counteracting neuroinflammatory conditions and in slowing down the progression of diseases such as Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, Huntington's disease, frontotemporal dementia, ALS, and multiple sclerosis. Literature research demonstrated the efficacy of PEA in addressing the damage typical of major neurodegenerative diseases. Should this not be on a headline on the news? It should be. And yet the people are just, people are suffering and dying from these health conditions. And, oh, you know, we hope one day there'll be a cure. We're walking for a cure, we're praying for a cure, we're donating money for a cure. But in the meantime, you know, we got some prescriptions we can keep you on to help you manage these horrible conditions until there is. Addressing the damage typical of major neurodegenerative diseases. Again, something you add to your wellness regimen, affecting so very many aspects of your health. Classical and unexpected effects of ultramicronized PEA and neuromuscular function. I just talked about that. More on PEA and brain health. So we have PEA protects against the amyloid beta 2535 induced learning and memory impairment in mice, an experimental model of Alzheimer's disease. So it's having something to do with that beta amyloid sticky plaque we hate. Ultramicronized palmitoylethanolamide, an infectious adjuvant therapy for Parkinson's disease. Oral palmitoylethanolamide treatment is associated with reduced cutaneous adverse effects of interferon, blah, 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 and circulating pro-inflammatory cytokines and relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. And palmitoylethanolamide prevents Parkinsonian phenotypes in aged mice, those poor mice we give Parkinson's to and all kinds of things, but we won't think about that. Therapeutic effect of palmitoylethanolamide and cognitive decline, a systematic review and preliminary meta-analysis of preclinical and clinical evidence. Maybe pull that one up. Yeah, I mean, it's just really huge, guys. This is like amazing. PEA was found to promote neurogenesis, especially in the hippocampus, which is very affected by Alzheimer's, neuronal viability and survival and microtubule. Try to get that even a little bit larger so you can see it. And survival and microtubule associated protein 2 and brain-derived neuroattractive factor, especially while inhibiting mast cell infiltration, degranulation, and astrocyte activation, which is all going on with Alzheimer's disease in the hippocampus. It also demonstrated to mitigate the beta amyloid-induced astrogliosis by modulating lipid peroxidation, protein nitrosylation, inducible nitric oxide synthase induction, reactive oxygen species production, Kpase3 activation, amyloidogenesis, which is the formation of the plaque in the first place, and tau protein, which is all involved in that amyloid plaque, hyperphosphorylation. Such effects were related to PEA's ability to indirectly activate cannabinoid receptors and modulate proliferator activated receptor A, PPAR, alpha activity. Importantly, preclinical evidence suggests that PEA may act as a disease-modifying drug in the early stage of a neurocognitive disorder, while its protective effect in the Frank disorder may be less relevant. Okay, so yeah, take your PEA now. You don't want to say, oh, wow, my mother's in the last stages of Alzheimer's disease. Let's give her PEA. I certainly would, but I don't want to get Alzheimer's disease. It's in my family. I certainly will. It's another thing in the toolkit. PEA in the heart even. Look at this. Palmitoylethanolamide promotes a resolving macrophage phenotype, a pro-resolving macrophage phenotype, and attenuates atherosclerotic plaque formation. Conclusions: the present study demonstrates that palmitoylethanolamide protects against atherosclerosis by promoting an anti-inflammatory and pro-resolving phenotype of lesional macrophages, representing a new therapeutic approach to resolve arterial inflammation. So you can be sure that's going to be in my continuing series on heart disease, on heart health, I should say, heart health. Anyway, this is huge. So you're doing something here, you know, for one thing, it's helping you with another. You're maybe taking it for your heart, your heart problem, and it's going to help your brain. Again, it's like one of those things. One thing does many things. Now we come to PEA and weight loss. So palmitoylethanolamide, we got some big olamide words here, is an efficient anti-obesity endogenous compound. We make it ourselves, anti-fat, compared with oleoethanolamide in diet-induced obesity. Okay, so there are different oleamides, like the stereoleomide and just the straight This one that starts with O is olive oil amide. So very, very interesting. So they're comparing, does the does the PEA, the palmitoylethanolamide, compare with the olamide that we get from olive oil? And so it's saying the results indicate that PEA, just they're just abbreviating it differently there. They're talking about PEA, is able to improve health status in diet-induced obesity, decreasing weight, liver fat, okay, liver steatosis, that means fatty liver, inflammation, and dyslipidemia. So your cholesterol levels being out of whack. The action of PEA was found to be almost identical to that of olive oil ethanolamide. Again, you're not just saying, well, gee, I eat olive oil every day. Why don't I have this, happening? Again, we're talking about high dose amides from these foods. And is structurally related to PEA. These results suggest that the dietary administration of either PEA or POA or POEA might be considered as nutritional intervention as complementary treatment for complicated obesity in humans. So if you're interested in that one, you can read more and get kind of all of the actual acids, like the oleic acid is the OA. Okay. Okay, so I did that wrong. Palmitoleic acid is the POA, is actually they're describing as palmitoleic acid, which we get from pomegranate, right? And then the POEA, they're talking about, that is the palmitoylethanolamide. Okay. So yeah, even talking about the pomegranate there, which we've talked about that as well. And olive. Now, this is really cool. And we use olive oil therapeutically to trigger brown fat to burn up our white fat. We have these brown fat stores that protect our vital organs, like up in the thoracic area of the back, like in the heart area and stuff like that. So we have this cushiony fat, and it's brown fat, it's brown adipose tissue, and it burns. And when it's triggered and excited and nourished, it helps us burn the white fat, which is what you're pitching around your waist. So the potential role of brown, promotes white to beige conversion and metabolic reprogramming of adipocytes, contribution of PPAR alpha. The potential role of brown and beige adipose tissue against obesity has been recognized. Browning or beiging of white adipose tissue, so turning more of your white adipose tissue into brown adipose tissue, is associated with the remodeling of fat cells, adipocytes, and the improvement of their metabolic and secretory functions. And that we're going to find out is very interesting because it affects leptin. We're going to find that out in the next slide. We're almost done. It's 1 o'clock, but we're almost done. Here, palmitoylethanolamide restore the plasticity of brown and white adipocytes impaired in mice on a high-fat diet. So the final conclusion here, we identify PEA and PPAR alpha activation as the main mechanism by which PEA can rewire energy-storing white into energy-consuming brown-like adipocytes via multiple and converging effects that restore white adipose tissue, homeostasis, and metabolic flexibility. So we're turning up the thermostat is what we're doing by converting this white flabby, globby stuff to the nice, active, fat-burning brown. That makes any sense? Palmitoylethanolamide prevents metabolic alterations and restores leptin sensitivity in menopausal rats, basically. They take out the ovaries, now they don't have their hormones and stuff, and it's kind of like they're trying to say, women who go through menopause tend to have more problems with obesity, and part of it is the whole leptin thing. The leptin insensitivity receptors in the brain and stuff. And it says here, the current study demonstrates anorexic and fat losing effects. Okay, appetite controlling. That's the thing about the olamides in fat, is one of the things is it controls the appetite. And fat losing effects of a chronic treatment with PEA in overactivity induced model of mild obesity, the recovery of the impairment of leptin and its receptor signaling, and the increase of glucose tolerance after PEA treatment in those rats supports our finding and is consistent with the correction of leptin resistance in these rats who have been made menopausal. And so that's one of the big things we try to treat for obesity is leptin resistance. And it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do. I mean, I've tried some things like conjugated linoleic acid with green tea, with EGCG from green tea and things, but it's not an easy thing to do. So the fact that this does that is huge. And now PEA, cold and flu, palmitoylethanolamide, a natural body-owned, and otherwise we make it ourselves, anti-inflammatory agent, effective and safe against influenza and the common cold. And again, I go back to that first slide I started out with, the 50 years of studies over since 1957 and over 305 papers. It says, and then I want to go on from that. It says the major focus of PEA research since the work of the Nobel laureate Levi Montalcini in 1993 has been neuropathic pain states and mast cell related disorders, which we've been going over through this whole hour. However, it is less known that 6 clinical trials in a total of nearly 4,000 people were performed and published last century, specifically studying PEA as a therapy for influenza and the common cold. This was done before Levi Montalcini's clarification of PEA's mechanism of action, analyzing the role of PEA as an anti-inflammatory agent. We will review in depth these studies as the results support the effectiveness and safety of PEA and flu and respiratory infections. And again, you can see that there. It's quite fascinating. And then, yeah, I go, wait a minute. What did WebMD tell us about PEA and the lack of scientific studies? PEA is used for different types of pain, fibromyalgia, osteoarthritis, multiple sclerosis, carpal tunnel syndrome, autism, and many other conditions. But there is no good scientific evidence to support many of these uses. So just don't even bother. So, save your money, right? What would happen if people knew about using PEA for all of these big health issues? We can't patent it. Oh no, we can't patent it. We can't force people into doctors' offices to get it. They won't need our pricey prescriptions. While treating one of their problems, they'll get healthy in other ways too. Yikes. They can use it to stay healthy in the first place. Oh no, then they might not need us. Then we might go broke. Some other applications of PEA for fibromyalgia. Okay, so we talk about that. I actually want to jump down here really quick. This is a really cool paper, but long COVID, look at this. Oh, I actually did put it into a slide. PEA produces significant reduction in inflammation and may help reduce coagulation in COVID-19 patients. The long COVID trial of uncertain rigor found that PEA plus olfactory training may help improve the ability to smell in long COVID more than olfactory training alone, suggesting that PEA may have reduced neuroinflammation. So we have that. Carpal tunnel syndrome, you saw that again. You can just click on that, that page. Oh, there, yeah, I did say that. PEA and endometriosis. Another one, because I'm dealing with that. That's another presentation I need. Endometriosis can be really a scourge. This is the product that I'm using right now with people because it's ultramicronized, and I like this company is very reputable, so whatever. But there's a lot of good products out there, so but that, and if you click that, you will see it. So that wraps us up. I say don't go with the flow, go with the no. And so thank you for your comments too, you guys, Cindy and Connie. Yeah, it's really wonderful. It's a great thing that you can do yourself. You can easily, it's not expensive. You can incorporate it in. It will not conflict with anything. It's just really good for you. It's just really good for you. There's no downside. So thank you so much for being with me. I'm going to close. We are up. I'm over time by a few minutes, but I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you have a great week, and I'll be back next week with another whatever I talk about. I might be back to heart health. I've really gotten super intrigued about inositol as a supplement lately, or inositol as an entity in our bodies, and then used as a supplement for different things. So I might have to do that. Oh, did I see your question? No. Oh, I have something in the Q&A. If I'm in a flare, Karen is asking about her fibromyalgia. Would I benefit from more PEA, higher dose until I'm under control? There's no harm in a higher dose, and I don't know. You would know that yourself. But I think it's certainly worth trying. It's, again, there's no drawback to it. So good idea. And report back to me. take double dose and call me in the morning. No, but that's good. Good question, but give it a try. There's no harm. All right. If there's nothing else, I am going to say goodbye. Take care and be well.